This is my mom. This is me. We've been cooking together since I was a little kid in Iran. Back then, I only ever licked spoons and fetched things. These days, she still only ever lets me lick spoons and fetch things. Anyway, when I was little, I used to think she was the strongest person I'd ever met. Now I know she's actually the strongest person anyone's ever met. But look at her. She's only about as tall as a houseplant, and she bakes nonstop and makes bird noises. You wouldn't guess this woman had a fatwa on her head from the Ayatollah, or that she was interrogated by the secret police, threatened by murderers, or that she'd have to take her kids and escape. But she did. I've been telling this story since I learned English at the age of 7, when we came to the United States. You sure it's cool? Look, touch it. It's gonna cook the eggs.
No.
That's besan trush. Do you want to put it in a different bowl?
Okay.
What do you want?
You can.
I mean, if you want.
No, that's fine.
What you gotta do? She's been making these since before I was born. But I got opinions. I have very strong
Yes.
My name is Daniel Nayeri, and I'm the author of Everything Sad is Untrue, A True Story. It's an autobiographical novel. You know, I think pastry factors into it, and so does actually a lot of poop stories, because it's not just the story about the existential, the spiritual, it's also the story about just everyday survival.
I really try not to take anything for granted because I know that every day is a bonus. I should have been dead 35 years ago.
So why don't you use a hand mixer?
I don't know, but I have always done it with the...
This just feels like
You want to help?
No, it's too hard for me. I use a mixer, that's why I use it. Of course I
Aww.
Yeah. So you do this
Every time.
I mean, you got stronger shoulders than I do. I think I remember a lot about Iran because that's where all my memories of my dad and my grandfathers and my grandparents happened. But really, it's interesting. The book begins with this kid realizing he will never gain more memories of these people. They'll never see them again. And so he starts to try to count them and collect them and keep them.
Daniel was born in 1982, and that was 1 year after I graduated from Tehran University Medical School. And we moved from Tehran to Isfahan. Daniel's dad and his family lived close to Isfahan, and they owned many villages. So we had a very comfortable life, very nice house, and I was about to start my career as a doctor.
Our house was filled with extended family. It was the only time in my life where I had, cousins around. I had uncles, I had aunts. Today we're making some cream puffs. These are the old school recipes she's always used in Iran. I do my cream puffs smaller in general. Yours are about twice as big as mine.
But this time it's small.
Those are small?
Yes. I love to bake, but this is very special for me. When I was a kid, my dad, anytime that I had, I got a good grade, my dad bought us cream puff from a very famous place in Tehran.
I remember from a particular bakery in Isfahan called Akhtamar. Those were the ones that were really special. Anytime there was an occasion for my birthdays, that was what we got. So I'm all done.
Wow, look at that. I was a very, very dedicated Muslim. All my life practiced Islam. Even during revolution, I was for it. But in 1984, I went to my sister's wedding in England. And over there, I heard about Jesus. I couldn't believe it, but I prayed. All of a sudden, I felt joy and peace and love that I didn't have before. I knew that something changed. We went back to Iran to continue, actually, my work as a doctor. And each center that I went to, the nurses or the staff there asked me what belief I have. They said, "You are not Muslim."
I have a couple memories about when we got back and my mom had converted. She made a whole new set of friends, a new community of Christians sort of in the underground church. It was conveyed to us that this was not something that you wanted to discuss with people. And I think it was conveyed to me through my sister. That's how I knew about it, right? It's just like, don't talk about this.
After 3 years, my supervisor in the office asked me if I am a Christian, because he had heard that. And I said yes, and that was it. And the next few days, they kidnapped me. And then they asked me to tell the name of the people that are Muslim and became Christian. And I said, I cannot do that.
The legend of my mother is that she does not stop, and if you don't stop, you're unstoppable. For instance, I bet if I asked you, what is the toughest stuff on earth? You'd say, diamonds, but you'd be wrong. You should have said, your mom. Everything breaks. Everything is whirling around in a big bunch of motion and energy crashing into each other at the size of atoms and icebergs and will crumble eventually. But then you'd say, so what makes you think your mom is so tough? And I would say this part slowly, because I have said it before. I'd probably even whisper, because she's unstoppable. Every rock smashes into everything else and breaks. That doesn't matter. What matters is whether the rock keeps going the same direction it was going when it smashed. Do you see what I mean? What keeps going? What do you know that keeps going? Never distracted, never bored, never deterred. Beat up and threatened, sure. Humiliated and ignored, often. But never, never stopped. That's right. You get it now. My mom.
They said this is the last time. If you don't cooperate with us, then we can kill you. I had never, ever thought that I could leave Iran. I loved Iran so much. I had a good family. I had boy and girl. I had my education. I had patients that they loved me so much. And then I have to start from zero again.
So converting to Christianity is a capital crime in Iran, and so we knew we had to leave very quickly. As we left, we were able to get a flight into the UAE and were able to stay there for about 10 months. But that entire time, what we were looking for were countries that would take us in and offer asylum as refugees. After the UAE, we went to Italy at a refugee camp on the outskirts of Rome until finally we were granted asylum in the United States, in Oklahoma. You don't very often taste rosewater in a lot of things here.
Yes.
So that flavor is very associated with just Iranian pastries and Iranian desserts.
Yes.
Food is the tangible way to bring back a memory, right? I mean, that was, for us, the most effective way to keep our culture and our family with us as we were traveling. So it became very important. And for me, it became really important to remember and memorize those recipes and to taste them again. All right, do you want to taste one of yours? Sure. Show us the way you were saying you eat it. You want to try mine? This is how you do mine. Mine has a special way.
Oh my goodness! Very good. Yours is majlisi.
Majlisi in Farsi means like ready for guests. Merci. My mom is so important to my story because to watch somebody behave this way, right? Like what seemed from the outside almost irrational drive towards something. And you have to either believe that she was insane or sincere, but you can't believe anything else because she was so passionate and so clearly gave up so much in order to gain it. And what that it is in some ways the center of the book.
Nothing matters, the kind of job, how hard it was, nothing matters. No, definitely worth it, definitely worth it. I would do it again.